A zebra looks like a horse painted in stripes. A wolf looks close enough to a dog. A monkey has hands, intelligence, and the ability to learn complicated tasks. So after thousands of years of breeding animals, why are we still riding horses instead of zebras, working beside dogs instead of wolves, and keeping cattle instead of bears or deer? It is not because humans never tried. We trained elephants to move timber, monkeys to collect coconuts, bears to perform, deer to pull sleds, cheetahs to hunt, and zebras to wear harnesses. Some obeyed. Some bonded with people. Almost none became domesticated. Because taming changes one animal, domestication changes what an entire species is born ready to become. A tame bear may trust the person who raised it. Its cubs are still bears. A domesticated animal is different before training begins. Across generations, humans control reproduction until lower fear, lower aggression, tolerance of confinement, and dependence on people become part of the population. Some of the training has already been written into its biology, and most wild animals fail before that process can begin. Consider the zebra. European settlers in Africa needed working animals. Imported horses were vulnerable to diseases transmitted by tsetse flies, while zebras were adapted to local conditions. Their stripes also reduced landings by some biting flies. A strong African relative of the horse seemed like the perfect replacement. People harnessed zebras to carts. Baron Walter Rothschild famously drove a zebra-drawn carriage through London. Individual zebras have even been ridden, but a zebra in harness proves taming, not domestication. Zebras evolved under constant pressure from lions, hyenas, crocodiles, and wild dogs. When restrained, many react with explosive panic, powerful kicks, bites, and violent attempts to escape. Horses can panic too, but humans found populations in which calmer individuals could be managed and bred across generations. With zebras, every generation begins with an animal whose survival depends on refusing control. Humans might change that eventually, but only through centuries of strict breeding, while horses already perform the same job better. Domestication must be possible. It must also be worth the time. Wolves passed that test once, but ancient humans probably did not capture modern wolves and train them into dogs. An ancestral wolf population began living near human camps. The least fearful animals approached for scraps and survived beside people without attacking or fleeing. Humans gained warning systems and hunting partners. The wolves gained food. That relationship filtered the population before anyone understood selective breeding. Animals too aggressive were driven away. Animals too fearful never approached. Those able to tolerate and read humans stayed close enough to reproduce. Thousands of generations later, the result was not an obedient wolf. It was a different animal. Dogs became unusually attentive to human gestures, voices, and faces. Genetic studies have linked some dog-wolf differences to extreme sociability and reduced fear around people. Yet a wolf raised from birth may still mature into an independent, territorial hunter with reactions never selected for household life. The dog is not proof that every wild animal can be domesticated. It shows how rare the right opening is. Monkeys seem like another perfect candidate. They are intelligent, social, dexterous, and capable of learning complicated tasks. In parts of Southeast Asia, macaques have been trained to harvest coconuts. Primates can use tools, open locks, remember routines, and respond to human signals. But intelligence can work against domestication. A cow does not need to understand the fence to remain behind it. A monkey can test the latch, deceive a handler, steal tools, form alliances, and remember who punished it. Then it reaches sexual maturity. Many primates that appear manageable as infants become stronger, territorial, and aggressive as adults. They reproduce slowly, often producing one infant after a long pregnancy. That makes selective breeding painfully slow. Humans can train the mind of one monkey. Changing the reproductive biology and social instincts of the species is another project entirely. Bears fail for almost the opposite reason. They are powerful, mostly solitary, slow to reproduce, expensive to feed, and difficult to organize into a controlled breeding population. Yet people trained them for centuries, forcing bears to dance, wrestle, perform in circuses, or live beside handlers. None became domestic. A handler cannot easily enter a stable bear hierarchy because bears do not naturally live in one. And when control fails, it fails with an animal capable of crushing bone. Domestic animals do not have to be harmless. Horses and cattle can kill people. They must be predictable enough that humans can feed, move, breed, and manage them without every mistake destroying the project. Bears make mistakes too expensive. Deer show that the boundary is not absolute. Humans farm red deer and elk, and individual animals can become accustomed to fences and feeding. Reindeer went further. Across northern Eurasia, people developed domesticated or semi-domesticated herds used for transport, meat, milk, and hides. Reindeer naturally move in groups, feed from landscapes humans do not need to cultivate, and can be followed rather than confined every day. Genetic evidence suggests domestication occurred more than once, although wild and managed populations continued to mix. Most other deer never crossed as far. They panic under restraint, leap barriers, injure themselves during capture, and males can become extremely dangerous during the rut. Reindeer did not succeed simply because they were deer. They carried the rare combination that made long-term management worthwhile. The same rule explains the animals that came close, but stopped short. Elephants can perform extraordinary work, but pregnancy lasts almost 2 years, and generations pass too slowly. Cheetahs once hunted beside kings, but captive breeding is difficult, and their nervous systems handle confinement poorly. Gazelles provide meat, yet many panic so violently inside enclosures that maintaining breeding herds becomes harder than hunting them. Successful domestication requires several traits to align. The animal must eat something humans can afford, reproduce quickly enough for selection to matter, breed under human control, tolerate crowding and unfamiliar surroundings, and remain predictable when frightened. Its social behavior must let humans control movement and reproduction, and the result must be valuable enough to justify repeating the experiment for generations. Miss one condition, and the chain breaks. That is why the zebra remains striped, but never became another horse. Why the trained monkey never became livestock. Why the dancing bear remained wild. And why one ancient wolf population found a place beside the human fire, then stayed long enough to become something else. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.